Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about the 5 decks to look out for in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel that are currently out in the TCG and OCG. And mostly these are going to be the TCG things, so yeah, there's that. Now with the YCS in Cancun having just wrapped up, and with Unchained being as prevalent as it has been in the past 2 YCSs, as well as a few other notable inclusions, I wanted to talk about some of the new decks to look out for and what you should expect. Starting off with what I expect to arrive first, Vanquish Soul. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Vanquish Soul. Yeah, this is an entirely new deck, unlike some of the other ones that we'll be talking about, that relies on basically utilizing its hand as material on the field. It's kind of weird, but basically, you utilize each one of these guys' effects, which has an effect by revealing cards in the hand, depending on the attribute of monsters that they have. So, for example, Rosin on normal adds another Vanquish Soul, a non-warrior Vanquish Soul to the hand. Great. Or on special, sorry. And then on top of that, you can reveal a fire, and then this card can't be destroyed by card effects this turn, or you can reveal a fire and a dark to destroy all monsters in this card's column. Now, this is a quick effect, as is most of the hand reveal effects of all of your Vanquish Souls. All in all, pretty good, and paired with other such hand traps or the like, it makes this a bit better. Now, notably, they don't have anything for lights, but they have stuff for earth, fire, and dark, as well as, I believe, wind? Maybe they don't have... No. It's just earth, fire, and dark. So, earth, fire, and dark are very important for this deck. So, of course, they're playing things like the Fenrir, they're playing Droll and Lockbird, Ash Blossom is very good, Difficarnate, Magnamut, or other such bestials are very nice as well. So, all in all, they kind of all pair together to facilitate the strategy of more or less revealing, special summoning, tagging out, and kind of playing like a weird combo tag-out fighter, similar to like Marvel versus Capcom is a great way of thinking about it, where basically you have a monster on your field, that guy's doing the fighting, and then when he's done, you tag him out for an assist, or you activate your assist by revealing, and you tag out. A lot of people refer to this as Tekken. Feels a lot more like Marvel versus Capcom, or something along those lines, but alas, you get the idea. All in all, it's a very interesting strategy, and in the OCG specifically, it had performed pretty well. It's not a meta-defining... Well, it's kind of meta-defining, but it's not a meta-dominant threat in any way. It's just going to maybe be a mid-top tier to rogue-ish deck, but is extremely fun and definitely something to look out for. Yeah, Caesar is a really strong card, all things considered, being able to be unaffected by your opponent's activated effects this turn, while also being able to destroy a card on the field. Non-target is pretty good. On top of that, just being able to have a million other hand traps that also do stuff is also pretty nice. Also, if you watched my short, yeah, Rock the Vanquisher is part of this archetype, and this card is insane. Just a crazy concept of card. It special summons from hand, and it adds from grave at quick effect during the main phase. So, pretty good. On top of that, you can't really attack it very effectively if you have another Vanquish Soul, so it's pretty decent. Next up, we have ourselves Scareclaw Manadimian. This is... I don't know when this one's going to come out. I'm pretty sure Vanquish Soul is going to be the next one. As for the rest of these, no idea when they're going to be released. We have technically seen Rescue Ace be leaked, but who knows when that's actually going to show up. But Manadimian is the extension, or the end, basically, of the Vsauce Starfrost lore. And so we've had Tyr, we've had Rhino, we've had Scareclaw, we've had Kashtira, and this is Manadimian, the 4th and final of the iterations for the Visa Starfrost. And they actually do utilize Visa Starfrost, basically to just facilitate a synchro pile. That's basically it. Similar to Synchron or the like, it's just vomit out a whole bunch of synchros with boss monsters, and that's kind of it. And honestly, the deck basically just relies on preventing your opponent from even playing the game by setting up a big synchro field and going from there, utilizing all of the Vsauce lore in order to actually do that, right? It can utilize the Scareclaw lore, it can utilize the Chimera stuff, it can utilize, obviously, the Manadimian, and all of that basically culminates in just summoning out a whole bunch of large guys. Things like Chaos Angel with both a light and a dark to prevent you from really dealing with anything, as well as a Baron. Things like Dispotter, etc., etc. The idea is pretty simple. It's not something that we haven't seen before. Think Adamantipator, think Synchron, think the myriad of other decks that we've had. Just, yeah, in a different flavor. This is pretty simple. It's just another deck, basically. However, Astral Loud is a pretty good card in this deck, seeing as how it's one of the few decks in the Vsauce lore that actually can utilize this. But alas, that's more or less it. Again, similarly, though, it does have a lot of room for tech cards. Things like the Books of Moon, the Infips, the Triple Tax, etc. So all in all, a decent deck. This one is definitely more of a niche-er option. It's not great, mostly due to the fact that, especially against Maxi, it's not great because it does just require you to special summon an infinite amount of times, which can just put you dead to rights with a Maxi on the field, or with a Maxi activated, and you don't, like, yeah, I guess you could play, outs to the Maxi, but it's not going to be as useful. But all in all, just a difficult deck, I would say, in Master Duel, specifically for, best of ones, for Maxi, etc. I do think that this is something to take note of that will be maybe meta relevant, and at the very least will be rogue and pretty decent. So yeah, all things considered, something to look out for. It's currently topping in the TCG and doing pretty well at YCSs and the like, but all in all, in the OCG, it never really converted very well. Next up, we have ourselves Rescue Ace, which I believe is most likely to come up next. And this deck is very interesting. It basically relies on a whole bunch of non-engine, that being things like Ash and Biru, etc. Because it can more or less do all that it needs to do with its combo pretty easily. Yeah, this is a very weird deck. It's not too great in the TCG, but it is the best deck currently in the OCG due to having a new archetype that is only in the OCG right now, helping it out, as well as Max C being able to draw them into more non-engine, such as more hand traps and the like. So all in all, it's great. Also, it plays a control, like a pseudo-control. I'd call it more mid-range because it does do some combos here and there, but it plays a control style of a deck. Think similar to like Tri-Brigade, how Tri-Brigade used to work. That's kind of how Rescue Ace works at the moment. But the main combo is basically just get out Turbulence and then Turbulence set 4. And the 4 that you can set are all basically interruptions, which is pretty great. Contain, Extinguish, Rescue, and Alert are all different variants of interruptions, or at the very least recursions, so that you can add more resources to your hand and kind of go from there. Emergency is also incredibly valuable, given the fact that it allows you to basically do your combo by drawing it, which is great. And also it allows you as a search target, or it at least gives you a search target off of, I believe it's Lifter. Yeah, it adds the spell to your hand, so you can go Lifter into Emergency, which then gets you into the Hydrant, which is very important. So all of that is nice. However, this is the one that I think would most likely be split up, seeing as how in the TCG it was also split up, and the first wave, Rescue Ace was kind of mid, didn't really do anything, never saw really any competitive success, and then they got Turbulence and Emergency, and the deck shot up to meta relevance, and is now topping tournaments and doing pretty well. It's not insane, it hasn't won anything, but it's doing still pretty well. I just don't think it's the best deck to bring to a tournament at the moment, and I think a lot of people would agree. But it does have a lot of room for non-engine, which I think will be better for Master Duel, and also because of Max C and the fact that this is more of a control style, as well as the fact that it did so very well even before the new cards were added in the OCG. I still think that this deck is definitely one to look out for Master Duel, and is probably going to be the next thing to really shake up the meta in Master Duel, besides like the Chimera cards that are inevitably coming. So this is the biggest one to look out for, along with Vanquish Soul at the moment. Next up, we have ourselves Chimera. Chimera branded specifically. Now, granted, branded is significantly stronger in the TCG than it is in the OCG. Right now, this isn't doing anything in the OCG. However, it's still something to look at and to bring attention to, because illusion, new type, whoa! Yes, turns out the illusions are actually very good in the TCG, and they're worth noting. Most notably because all of these cards are great access to your branded engine, as well as just Chimera Fusion. Being able to quick play Fusion is very nice as well. And again, non-engine is really important right now in the TCG. However, this deck doesn't really use that as much, and so does rely on its actual engine a bit more. However, that engine is pretty good. Being able to go into things like Guardian Chimera on the opponent's turn happens to be very strong. On top of that, just the actual fusion monsters such as Chimera, and or I guess Chimera the Illusion Beast, as well as the Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts, are two very good additions to the deck. We also have things like a Mirror Knight, which is very powerful. Just being able to activate it, special summon, and then get additional effects. All of these various different cards just get you more access to things like Chimera Fusion and Branded Fusion, which then just kind of does full combo, and you can play through quite a bit more. Just overall, something to look out for. It's just another branded thing that they do. It's slightly different, but it's ultimately still just branded, just in a different light. They're still making Mirror Jade. They're still sending things like Rindbrum. But it is a lot more consistent, which I think helps a lot. And it can actually play through Ash Blossom now, because it's not entirely reliant on things like Branded Fusion to resolve. So there's that. Moving on, we have ourselves the last of the decks that I want to talk about, which is actually a deck that we already have, similar to things like the Scareclaw Manadimian and the Branded Chimera, but Unchained. I know what you're saying. Unchained? I thought Unchained was bad. Well, it turns out when you give them some of the most broken cards that I've ever read, they turn out to be pretty good. Most notably, this card, Unchained Soul, Lord of Yama. Now, notably, an Unchained Soul card is very valuable because it allows you to go into things like Unchained Soul of Rage, as well as the Abomination, which require Unchained Soul cards, which is important. Just keep that in mind. But this is a YCS winning deck by Jesse Cotton. So there you go, piloted by Jesse Cotton, winner of the YCS in Vancouver. And this list is pretty good, but more importantly, the new cards are also extremely good. A Link 2 that is generic, that also allows you to add a card from deck to hand on summon, and that is not on Link Summon, but on Special Summon, and yes, there are ways to bring it back. Fantastic. On top of that, if a card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish it from the grave in order to special summon a fiend from hand or grave. Then you can destroy a card you control. This is also fantastic because it allows you access to recursion, to recovery, and even if you get even if you get Nibiru, if you have held your interactions correctly, you're able to continue playing from there, which is crazy. Being able to play through a Nibiru, very few decks can do, and this one does it without even blinking. On top of that, Shavara. This card's insane. During the main phase, pop a card. Just destroy it. Special summon this card to your field. Fantastic. Guess what? Not only is this a quick effect, it also gives you advantage because you're playing Unchained and you want all of your stuff to be destroyed. So, that's pretty good. This card is insane, and with almost any other card, it allows you insane access to the rest of your engine. On top of that, we have the Shiyama, which is a recursion from the graveyard. By doing similar things, you pop a card on the field to special summon this, and then these also allow you access to your DDDs, which is, Wave King High Caesar is basically just an Omni Negate. You also have things like Deus Machina, which is just a great way to go into Zeus, or a way to steal a monster. You also have things like the Dark Contract with the Gate in order to add the Vice King Requiem, which is again just a free summon to then go and give yourself a Deus Ex, a Machina X, while also having a pop on it and and the steal and all of that stuff. You can also play Tour Guide, which is one of the best starters in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! In order to just freely go into your Yama. Just an insane set of cards. On top of that, lots of non-engine spots are available, which is very important right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! In the TCG specifically. There are many slots. You got the Book of Moon, you got the Prospies, you got the Thrusts, you got the Nibirus, etc. And most importantly, it can just play through anything. Going first, going second, it has boards that are very strong, being able to set up multiple interactions, or more importantly, just ways to survive and then OTK on the crackback, which is very valuable. Unchained Abomination is one of the strongest boss monsters that the game has seen, given access to multiple pops on the opponent's turn, which is very strong. Nightmare Griffin locking the opponent out of the game by giving them no link zones to summon to, which is very nice, and just stuff like that. This deck is very strong, and you even can see it in the YCSs that have most recently happened with things like Unchained being the most represented or second most represented in the game at release. And honestly, with the nerfing of Kashtira, with the banning of Arise Heart, I do think that this deck is going to be and is the best deck by a long shot. I do think that more people are prepared for it and now are able to actually play around it, which may come up, or already has come up, basically. But all in all, this is definitely the most impactful deck to look out for. Now, granted, I do think that this will matter significantly less in the OCG, or more specifically in Master Duel, because it didn't matter as much in the OCG, but I still think that this deck has a lot of merit to it, even with the, addition of Maxi, having to deal with Maxi and not be able to consistently play the game because of that, but due to the fact that Shavara, as well as a lot of these other things, are able to basically play on the opponent's turn, more or less, as well as all of the non-engine, I still think that this deck will be good. And you can also pair it with Labyrinth. So, there you go. All in all, those are the 5 decks that I expected to do well in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel in the coming future, and decks to look out for. So, that's it for today's episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated, and if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.